So this is the, what is it called? HB 2747, whatever it's called. Wholesale buyers, wholesale sellers to unlawful practice definitions. Before the parties enter into any binding agreement, a wholesale buyer, a wholesale buyer shall disclose in writing to a seller that the buyer is a wholesale buyer. A wholesale seller of a residential real estate shall disclose in writing to the buyer that the seller is a wholesale seller that holds an equitable interest in the real estate property, and the wholesale seller may not be able to convey title to the property. Now, stating any other provisions contained in the contract for sale, if the wholesale buyer violates this section, the seller may, this is the worst case scenario. Are you ready? The seller may, or is it wait? The seller may cancel the contract at any time prior to close of escrow without the penalty and may retain EMD paid by the wholesale buyer if violates this section. So the worst case scenario is you lose your EMD. That's the worst. That is the worst penalty ever. Okay? They lose their EMD. That's worst. Okay? Now, notwithstanding any provisions contained in the contract, if the wholesale seller violates this, the buyer may cancel the contract if you don't disclose to the cash buyer. Now, for purpose of the session, residential real estate means real property with fewer than 5 dwelling units. Wholesale buyer means a person or entity that enters into a purchase contract for residential real estate as the buyer and assigns that same contract to another person or entity. Let everybody understand this. The definition of that's very, very vague, because when you start looking at things of a person or entity that enters into a contract for residential real estate as a buyer and then assigns that same contract to another person or entity. Here's the thing. If your entire intention is not to assign it, then they can't cancel out the contract. They can only cancel out when you have shown that you're going to assign the property. So if you're intending to double close, just letting everyone, if you intend to double close the property the entire time, there's no way they can get out of the deal. Until they find out you're unless you're actually assigning it, then they get out of it. But if you are intending to double close the entire time and you approach the double close, and then let's say at closing, you do an assignment instead of the double close, you switch the day before, that's it, right? So like, I feel it's so funny when people are like, I have to. But wholesale seller, a person that enters into a PSA for as the seller that does not hold legal title to the real property. Unfortunately, a seller doesn't actually, theoretically, okay, that makes sense. They don't and then assigns the same contract. So you theoretically could double close here, but really, even if you wholesale it, the worst case scenario, you lose the EMD. But if your intention is to double close the entire time, they can't get out of it and you can't get in trouble with it. These laws are hilarious, though.
It's just they're so poorly written.
They're poorly written on purpose.
It's gonna be hard to enforce, but like you can't let it scare you. Where like I'm not gonna do anything, and you don't want to scare your sellers and your buyers. Just listen, just do the right thing. Most people, they want a good deal. Most people want to get rid of a property that's a problem. You're just helping the exchange. We've had a few bad apples that's created this mess.
Let's go over worst case scenario in Arizona. Okay. I put the property under contract. I don't give them a disclosure form, which Arizona wants you to say, here's the disclosure form saying that I might assign this in. It says I'm a wholesale buyer.
Yeah.
I'm not a wholesale buyer. I actually buy here's the thing. The definition of a wholesale buyer is somebody that assigns contracts. I close real estate by myself, or me and my partner will. So I theoretically am not just a wholesale buyer. I'm actually a real buyer. So worst case scenario, if I have to do wholesale buyer means I've done it before, then it won't matter. Sign my disclosure agreement. Guys, worst case scenario, they say, wait, you do the seller walkthrough. You're assigning this. I can get out of it. Actually, I am not assigning it. I'm actually purchasing it myself.
Yeah.
They can't get out of it because I'm intending on double closing it now. So if they ever hit me with wait, I'm going to get out of it. Guess what? The title company is like, are you assigning this? No, I'm double closing it. There's nothing that seller can do. These laws are written so poorly and every guru wants to freak you out. It's just hilarious.
Yeah, guys. So that's why you want to make sure you go for the no, to get the right price.
Not legal advice. Not legal advice. Not legal advice.
Yeah, so they're tired of people in the state of Arizona like buying properties at average price and trying to mark them up and sell them with no
it's so poorly written
interest
because it would never pass if it was a legit law. So even if you assign it, If your intention is different, you'll be good to go. You know what I mean by that. But guys,
Yeah. So
it's
not
so
legal
funny.
advice, guys. I'm just telling you, like, you got to read into it